In this prayer service today, we are going to learn something very, very powerful that you could use to gain victory in your spiritual walk with God. But not just victory, a sustained victory over the enemy. Matthew chapter 18, verse 18 says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you that whatever you bind on this earth shall be bound in the heavens, and whatever you loose on this earth shall be loosed in the heavens." There's an authority given to you to bind satanic activity on this earth, and God will honor that word that you speak out and bind every principality up in the heavens. And whatever you loose as well on this earth, oh, heaven will back you up to loosen the blessings and favor of God in your life. Yes, you have this power. You do not have to be afraid of what is around you any longer. John chapter 4 verse 4 says, "Greater is he that's in me than he that is in the world." Yes, you carry power and authority. And Jesus' last words to us in Matthew 28 says, "All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth." Jesus is the one that has all power and authority. And as we call upon him, name his name, we can have that power to bind and to loose. Now, I want to show you how powerful this principle is when we execute the word of God from our mouths. We have the power to bind and loose. We had just come from a study on 1 Kings chapter 18, where Elijah had victory over the prophets of Baal and Baal himself. In 1 Kings chapter 17, we see Elijah giving a word to the nation, especially to the king, and said, "There will be no rain on this earth." 1 Kings chapter 18, he goes back to the king after 3 long years, and he tells him, "I bound something in the heavenlies. It is bound." Baal was inoperable for 3 long years. Now, it's time that God is going to loosen the rain back on this earth. What just happened here? You see, Baal was attributed to be a god who gave the rain for their crops. Now, when the Israelites entered Canaan's land, they got in with the Canaanites in worshiping Baal because they thought, yes, it's Baal that has sent the rain, and they joined them in their festivities with Baal, and this angered God. So what was on display here? God was showing that he was the God that truly has the power over the rain and every other thing that comes from him. Our source is from God. And so he got his servant to bind the demonic forces over that area. And it happened just as the word of God was released from the mouth of Elijah. So what we had seen there was a powerful demonstration of the principle of binding and loosing. Bound the rain from falling over the demonic spirits of Baal and everyone else. They are crippled and unable to bring down that rain because God, Yahweh God, had power, and he'd also have the power to loosen the rain once again on earth. So he is to be worshipped, he is to be praised. So this principle, where we see that sometimes, it makes us make a deduction that not all natural disasters are acts of God, as we are told. Some are demonic in their activity. Look at this example of Jesus in Mark chapter 4, with his disciples on a boat. And suddenly a storm arises. Yes, Jesus was asleep on this boat. How can we forget the story? And when the disciples awaken Jesus with, "Lord, Lord, save us, we perish," Jesus returns to them with this word, "Where is your faith?" And then he stands up and he does something. Mark chapter 4 verse 39, Jesus rebukes the storm and says, "Peace, be still." Now, why would Jesus need to rebuke a storm if it was from God? It was certainly not from God. It was from the enemy. Jesus executed and demonstrated the principle of binding satanic activity of that storm over that vicinity and loosing the victory of peace in that situation. So it is the same with you. What is it that you need to bind is taking over the territory, taking over your life right now? You stand up with the sure word of the Lord. And I can see Jesus asking his disciples today, you and me, where is your faith in my word? Where is your faith in me? Begin to release that word over every satanic activity in your domain and get that victory, because all power, all authority belongs to our God, and he's released it to you. You are mandated to bind Satan. So use the word of Matthew 18 verse 18 and know this, that you have power over the enemy to bind him. Bind simply means to restrict him from moving. And once again, you can have a victory. But remember, Elijah had sustained that victory for over 3 years. And you, as you employ and engage and execute this word, Matthew 18 verse 18, binding Satan over you, your life, your loved ones, yes, you too can have a sustained victory 3 years, 5 years, and for as long as God ordains it so. So, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound, and whatever you loose on this earth shall be loosed. This was the principle of binding and loosing that you can execute from today to gain a sustained victory over your life.